Hi everyone, and welcome to this video where we'll be talking about intermittent fasting for weight management. So there are many ways to manage your weight, but for our purposes we will be focusing on intermittent fasting. So we have already established that weight management is important for health. Weight comes from food, and the most effective strategy in controlling weight is controlling what you eat. So incorporating exercise into the plan is good, but the main goal of exercise is really not weight loss, but rather fitness, heart health, lung health, and muscle building, and also building endurance. And we also know that most diets don't really work, except for the initial period of the diet. After the initial success, the weight tends to plateau, and we go back to our eating habits, and then we gain back the weight that we lost. But fasting, on the other hand, is very different, because fasting leverages the benefit of hormones to control weight. It does not require complicated meal planning at all as people do when you need when you get into a diet plan. All you need to do with intermittent fasting is to schedule when to eat and to schedule when not to eat. So what is intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting is a process of abstaining from food in a deliberate and controlled way for a specific period of time. It simply means not eating for a while. It involves restricting all meals to a certain number of hours and totally refraining from eating for the rest of the hours. So in a 24-hour period, typical protocols would include 14-10. That means that you fast for 14 hours, you don't eat anything for 14 hours, and then eat all your meals within 10 hours. Or another typical protocol would be 16/8, whereby you fast for 16 hours and eat all your meals within 8 hours. So you just take a 24-hour period and then divide it according to what works for you. So your protocol can be configured any way you want, as long as you fast for longer periods of time and restrict meals within a shorter duration of time. The benefit is that you will be able to reduce the number of meals you eat in a day. Because you know what? Most adults over 30 do not need 3 meals. 2 meals are enough to sustain your life. And fasting, as we know, is not new. We all fast between dinner and breakfast. When we go to bed at night, we're fasting. Except, there are those people that wake up in the middle of the night to have a midnight snack. That's different. But breakfast simply means breaking a fast that we've been doing during the night. It is the first meal after fasting for the night. And fasting, we also have to distinguish between fasting and starvation. Fasting is not starvation. The big difference is the aspect of control and willingness that goes with fasting. Fasting involves voluntary abstention from eating for spiritual, for health, or for other reasons. Food is available to you, but you choose not to eat. So you can see it's very simple, because when you can't fast anymore, what do? You just eat. But starvation, on the other hand, happens due to food scarcity. Starving people may have no idea where their next meal will come from, or when it will even come. There is no control there, and it is not voluntary. It is forced upon people by external forces beyond their control. So they are two very different things. So a little history about fasting is that it has existed for years. Early humans did not even eat 3 meals. Before the modern era, food availability was unpredictable and highly irregular. Food availability depended on seasons. It was very plenty in the summer and in the spring months, and then it was scarce in the winter months. So early humans went without food for prolonged periods of time. It was involuntary fasting, and this happens in periods of famine. But come in agriculture, and this helped to reduce periods of famine, because people could farm food and store it, to cater for those periods of scarcity. So fasting was practiced in ancient Greek civilization for purification, for detoxification and for cleansing purposes. This was a voluntary practice. It was done willingly. We also know that all religions and cultures practice some form of fasting, and for spiritual reasons. So fasting is not a new thing. But why pick fasting as a preferred weight management strategy? Why did we choose to, or why did I decide to introduce intermittent fasting to you? It's simple. It's very simple. You just don't eat. The simple rule is eat nothing. And when it's time to eat healthy. So your diet doesn't change much. The only thing that changes is the time you eat and maybe the amount you'll be eating. It's free. It involves not eating, so really it just saves you money. At the same time, it's convenient. You don't have to follow specific food routines that involve planning and buying and cooking and cleaning and all that. You still need to cook and clean. It's healthy to cook and clean and all that. But really, it's a very simple process and very convenient. It's not restrictive at all. You can enjoy your life's little pleasures every now and then. It doesn't restrict what you eat, really. It's a very powerful process. We know that fasting reverses diseases like diabetes, like high blood pressure. It has the power to break through weight loss plateaus and reduce the need for insulin and reverse insulin resistance in those people with type 2 diabetes. It has no limit as to how many days you can fast. The record number of fasting has been 382 days. Somebody fasted for 382 days without any complications. And it has no complications, not like medications that you use for weight loss. It's flexible. It's not disruptive of your schedule. You can create your own schedule. It can be done anytime that is convenient for you. You can mix and match periods that you can fast. Maybe one day this week, maybe 6 days the next week, maybe 2 days a week after. It fits whatever you need it to do. You can adapt it to your life. And it works with any diet. There's no diet at all, really. You just eat whatever you've been eating. Just make sure you're eating healthy. It just means not eating. You can eat anything within your eating period as long as you keep it healthy. So, okay, it's all good and all that, but how does it work? So how does intermittent fasting work? Intermittent fasting leverages the benefit of hormones and time to control weight. What matters is not really what you eat, but when you eat. Like we said anyway, you still need to eat healthy. But the critical hormone in weight gain or weight loss is insulin. There are many other hormones, but we're just going to focus on insulin for purposes of simplicity. The key to losing weight is to burn through the stored energy sources, which are glycogen and fat. The hormone insulin is a key to unlock this fat burning process. Anytime we have insulin circulating in our bodies, we cannot burn fat. Insulin makes sure we are building fat stores and not depleting them. And where does insulin come from? Insulin is stimulated by eating. Anytime you eat, insulin shoots up. And mostly by carbohydrates and also proteins. So anytime we eat, especially like I mentioned, carbohydrates and proteins, the food is digested in the gut. So carbohydrates are broken down into sugars like glucose, while proteins are broken down into amino acids. And these two, glucose and amino acids, trigger the release of insulin. Insulin spikes immediately when we eat, and the speed at which it spikes depends on the kind of food you're eating. Refined sugars and highly processed foods, spike insulin faster than complex carbohydrates and also than proteins. For fats are broken down into fatty acids for absorption, but they are absorbed through the lymphatic system, through a different system. Pure fats do not spike insulin production. So on the other hand, when you eat, of course, insulin goes up, but the opposite is true. When you're not eating, insulin levels are low. And this is how it allows the stored energy to be released. The body is able to easily get at the stored fat even before glycogen stores in the liver are depleted. When you have low insulin levels, you can burn fat, even if you have some low amount of glucose circulating in your blood. So we know glucose is always needed in the blood because it is a primary source of energy for the brain. And the brain is the only organ actually that utilizes glucose only for its energy needs. So it has been shown, however, that it can use ketones as an energy source, but to a lesser degree. So we always have a little glucose circulating in our body so that the brain has a source of energy. So this is how intermittent fasting works. I'll see you in the next video.